I am serious. And don't call me Shirley. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 69 of Movies Are Awesome, the show all about coffee table books. My name is Nathan Pottle, and thank you so much for joining me today. Today is an interesting one. It's another hot day outside. We have this crazy weather where it's either raining or it's really hot, and because it's always those two, it's really muggy outside, and I don't deal with heat very well. One year when I went to Spain over the summer, it was so blisteringly hot over there that I just couldn't handle it. So here in my house, it's like 25, 26 degrees it gets upstairs. I think it's because the way my house is designed is that the staircase is right in the middle and we don't have any doors or anything, so all of the heat from downstairs rushes up. So it's really nice and cool downstairs, but it just gets so hot upstairs. We don't have AC in our house. It is probably something I'm going to have to invest in at some point because I cannot handle this heat. It's crazy. But recently, me and my wife have talked about maybe moving my office and recording area downstairs into the basement for the summer so that I can be a little bit cooler and I can do my work and stuff on my own, like down in the nice temperature. So I think I'm going to do that just because it makes sense for me to do that. That's not what I'm talking about today, though. I always like to give little updates about how I'm feeling about little things, but we're talking about movie trailers today, and the reason that I wanted to get into the history of movie trailers and kind of where they came from and how they've developed is because last night, or was it last week, we were watching a movie, as my wife and I usually do. We're watching a movie, and whenever we watch a DVD or a Blu-ray, we always sit through the trailers and we will watch the trailers. It doesn't matter how old the movie is. We will watch the trailers from whatever year the movie came out in, and we gotta see like what was coming out around the same time as this movie and what are the trailers like. And we were watching Pride and Prejudice, the one from 2005 with Keira Knightley and a bunch of other people. Donald Sutherland is in that movie too. And we watched the trailers beforehand, and there was a trailer for Atonement and for a couple others, and then there was a trailer for HD DVD. And if you listened to my episode last week about VHS tapes, HD DVD was the big rival of Blu-ray when Blu-ray was first coming out, and then it lost. So seeing a advertisement for HD DVD was kind of a blast from the past. But we were watching Pride and Prejudice and watching these trailers, and they were just so bad. The way they were edited and the way they were cut. And so I just wanted to talk today about where trailers come from, how we've gone from original trailers to trailers that we see in movies today, and just talk about them. Also, I made a list of some of my favorite trailers and some of the worst movie trailers that I've ever seen. There's some really fun, interesting stuff to talk about here today. So let's start from the beginning, the very first movie trailer. Now, this is actually really interesting because the first trailer advertisement played in a theater actually wasn't for a movie. It was for a Broadway production of a play called The Pleasure Seekers, and this was in 1913. The play was released in 1914, but a year before, the producer of the play had the idea, hey, let's get advertising. People are going to movie houses. Let's get them back into our live production theaters and get them watching there. So they filmed people on stage running around, doing the rehearsals and everything for the production, and they edited it together and they played it in movie houses in New York City in order to get people excited about this new Broadway production. And then once people saw that this was a viable way to advertise upcoming features, everyone jumped on board and everyone started cutting trailers for their movies, and that's how we got trailers. Now, basically, yes, it is just advertisements for movies to get you to go see them, but they've had such an interesting history. So let's talk about even how they got their name. They're called trailers. Now, there are different kinds of trailers out there. There's like a trail that you can go hiking on. There's a trailer that you can go camping in. When you go camping, you camp in a trailer. When you're following behind someone, that's trailing someone. So where does the name movie trailer come from? And it is because when movie trailers first came out, they were played at the end of the feature. So you would watch your movie and you would sit to the end, and then all of the trailers would show up like, next time, come watch all of these movies that will be released on this specific day. Now, it didn't take long for people to realize that this actually wasn't the ideal place for movie trailers, because people would get up, once their movie was done, they would get up and they would leave and they wouldn't stick around to watch the trailer. So they stuck them at the beginning, and that's our current format of you sit down in the theater, you watch the trailers, and then the movie starts. And here in Canada, you'll get about 4, maybe 5 trailers in front of the movie before everything starts. There's usually a car commercial or something crammed in there as well. But in the United States, I've noticed, especially in AMC theaters, which is what I frequent when I go to the United States, they play like 20 minutes worth of trailers. Like it's 20 to 25 minutes. You're getting a lot of movie trailers in that time. Sometimes it's like 9 or 10 trailers that you're watching for different movies. And then by the end, when I leave a new movie, I usually like to talk about which trailers I like and what I'm looking forward to seeing next time. But when I see a movie in the States, I watch so many trailers, it's hard for me to remember them all. Which I suppose isn't really something worth complaining about. It's kind of an embarrassment of riches type deal. But overall, this is how we get that structure. But the name trailer still is attached to these movies because that's what they were known as. So over the years, we have had a bunch of different kinds of trailers and the way that they're edited and different styles of trailers. So I made a list of different trailers and different styles that they were made. And when we first had trailers, it was kind of just large text that you would read over top of clips from the movie. And that was because back in 1913, movies with sound hadn't been invented yet. So if you want to advertise and tell people about your movie, you would have to include text on the screen in order to give them more information about your picture. And that's because the first talkie didn't come into existence until 1927. It's a movie called The Jazz Singer. And that's when sound started. And when sound started, they really started throwing in not only the big large text, but also voiceover in order to help advertise the movies. And then that's where we get into the voiceover trailer. And you're all familiar with the deep voice going like, "In a world filled with hunger," or whatever, right? Or, "In a world ravaged by a plague." All of these different things, right? I don't know if my inner world voice is that good. Is it all right? If you think my inner world voice is all right, let's just let me know. Just let me know. And for a long time, this is how movies were advertised. You have text on the screen, you have clips of the movie, and you have a voiceover guy giving information about the movie. You know, they're just talking about all of the different aspects of the movie. And actually, what's interesting is that generally in trailers back in the day, the trailers generally gave the entire movie away. Like they didn't care about spoilers. So spoilers weren't really a thing. They would just give you kind of the story from beginning to end in a condensed version and then say like, come watch the entire film. Come watch Gone with the Wind. And this is kind of what Gone with the Wind is about, giving you bits of the beginning, middle, and end. We are not in that era anymore. Kind of in the late 70s when Star Wars came out, it just wanted to give you like little teases of what to expect, and then you would experience the entire story later when you came into the movie. And that's kind of what we've gone into. We have trailers and we have teasers, and teasers are definitely more like just to give you a little taste, and then now we have trailers. It gives you like tone and feel and maybe a little bit of story beat, but you're given not much information at all, so that by the time you go into the theater, you are surprised by the story, you're engaged because all that you're seeing is brand new. The entire movie hasn't been ruined for you in the trailer, and I really like that style. When you go back, there have been lots of movies from the 50s and 60s and the 40s and that I have gone back and watched the trailer for before watching the actual movie, and I finished watching the trailer and I say like, oh, like I don't need to watch the movie now, I just watched the whole thing. There are even trailers like that nowadays where I've seen the trailer and I sit down after and I say like, why do I need to go see the movie now? It's over. I just watched the entire film. And sometimes trailers are structured this way to make you think that, and then when you see the actual movie, it's actually a lot different and completely changes the way that you're seeing things. And that leads into another kind of trailer that we have now, and it's what I'm calling the Marvel trailer, because Marvel does this a lot. It crafts its trailer in a way to mislead you or make you think that things are going one way, or actually completely changing footage or footage that they know isn't going to be in the final film, and just having that in the trailer to get you excited for the movie. But at the same time, it's not so misleading that when you watch the final film, you're disappointed that you were falsely advertised, you know? For example, I think almost everybody knows how much I hate the movie Suicide Squad. I hate that movie so much. It's awful. It's horrible. It's one of the worst things I've ever seen. That being said, the trailers were really great. They were really good trailers. And part of the reason that I was so upset is that the movie that I got and the trailers that were advertising were not the same movie. Not even close. The tone and the style and the way it was edited, like even the color palette was different. Suicide Squad had some major overhauling in its post-production process and just completely butchered the movie from what it was supposed to be based off of the trailers, and I was really excited and looking forward to it because the trailers were so good and we were given such a horrible movie. And even I guess near the end, because the initial first couple trailers, the teaser and then the first trailer for Suicide Squad advertised one movie, and by the time we get to the last trailer, I think that was the one that used Bohemian Rhapsody in the trailer. And it's like, we're having fun and we're shooting people and it's great and we're having a light and fun tone. And that's not what I was wanting from that movie. So that's one example of a movie misleading us and giving us a movie that's not what the trailer is saying it is. An example of what Marvel does is in something like Captain America Civil War, they remove Spider-Man from a lot of the shots of the airport fight sequence when everyone is lining up. I do believe it's Vision and Spider-Man that are removed from the shots. And that's fine because it gives you the surprise of oh, Spider-Man is in this scene. He's in this fight. It's awesome. And same with not Infinity War, Thor Ragnarok. The trailers for Thor Ragnarok are very different in the way that they changed footage in order for us to be spoiler free and give us surprises by the end of the film is really interesting and really unique. Well, I guess not unique anymore. A lot of trailers are doing this now in order to keep us guessing and keep us surprised when we're watching the film. And I think that's part of what makes Marvel so fun. And now when people are watching trailers, they're like, oh, I think this scene isn't in this because this doesn't quite line up with this. A really good example is in the trailer for Star Wars The Last Jedi, where Rey is saying, I need someone to show me my place in all this, and it shows Kylo Ren holding out his hand. People were starting to theorize and guess about, is this actually in the same scene? Because the background that Rey has and the background that Kylo has, it doesn't really match up. But the dialogue and the action make you feel like they're connected in some way. And they were connected, but not in the exact way that it was in the trailer. So it was still exciting and different in that sense. Does that make sense? That kind of sums up the Marvel misleading the audience, but it's not like a malicious mislead. It's more in order to preserve the surprises that the movie has in store for you. Now, there's another kind of teaser trailer out there that I like to call the Pixar trailer, because this is what Pixar does with their movies, is that they don't really make a conventional trailer when initially advertising their films. They make something that's more of like a little short, and it's not in the movie, it's not in there at all, and it's just kind of giving you a feel for what to expect, but not giving you anything from the actual movie. Now, one that really strikes my mind, there are two actually that I'll mention. One is the first teaser trailer that they had for Monsters Incorporated, and I remember watching this on a VHS tape when I was a kid. I think it was on the VHS tape for Toy Story 2. I think that's correct. But anyways, this trailer, and you see a bedroom door, and the door opens up and Mike and Sully come falling through, and they're talking about being on shift, scaring kids, and they're having a fun conversation, and then Sully leaves and closes the door, and Mike gets locked out, and he can't go back into the bedroom door, back into the world of monsters, or whatever it's called, Monstropolis. And then it's revealed that there's a large, scary dog inside the room that's going to beat up and attack Mike Wazowski. And that's kind of the first foray into Monsters, Inc. that we get. And then later they had trailers that kind of explain more of what the movie is and the story. But that first initial teaser is not in the film at all. It's not there. And the same goes for the movie Up. The very first thing that we ever saw from the movie Up, it was just the sky, and it said from the studio that brought you Ratatouille and WALL-E and Toy Story, and then you see all of these balloons coming up in front of the screen, and then it's revealed that these balloons are holding a house, and the house is floating up past the camera on the screen, and then you see Carl sitting on the deck, and he looks right at the camera and he goes, "Good morning." And then the house continues flying up, and then it says coming to theaters November, whenever. I don't know when Up was released in theaters. But that's a really good way to advertise your movie, is you're seeing okay, these are the guys who have made all these other movies that I love, and why is this house attached to balloons and why is this old man floating around? And then later you had more trailers about like kind of more what's going on, and you're introduced to Russell. But that first teaser trailer is burned into my memory because it was so memorable and it wasn't even in the movie. So that kind of thing that Pixar does is really great and I like it a lot. And now I'll get into more of our modern movie trailers that we have now. They're largely music driven. We don't see a lot of voiceover in trailers anymore. And actually, it seems that I already mentioned it's music driven, but it seems like the trailers are completely crafted around a specific song that they choose. And there are a lot of examples like this. If you watch trailers for like Mad Max Fury Road, it's very musically driven and it's matching all of the story beats. That one trailer, Suicide Squad, that I mentioned, where it's playing Bohemian Rhapsody and it's like in time with all of the music, that's more what we get now for movie trailers. We get some text on the screen, but I think it's a lot of more just tone and feel, not giving away story beats, giving you kind of a feel of what's going to happen in the film, but also leaving it vague enough that you are able to keep guessing. And I think when it comes to trailers like this, it really becomes now, these trailers are almost a work of art in themselves, and they're just so perfectly crafted to get you in the theater. That's what the point of all of these trailers are, is to get you in the theater, to buy a ticket, to buy the Blu-ray after the movie comes out. They want you to spend money on their film, and now production companies are working really hard to craft the perfect trailer to just tease you enough and give you just enough of a taste to make you want to go in and see your movie. Now, this is where we're going to get into some of the best trailers I've ever seen, some trailers I really, really like, and a lot of them are going to be from recent movies that use this exact type of trailer style. And I think that's really just because it's only been in the last 10 years or so that we've had this kind of trailer surface, and it's really become about like visual spectacle and tone and feel in a 1.5 to 2 minute package. So let's talk right now. 10 years ago, we had the trailer for Inception. Now, this trailer actually inspired the way trailers have been constructed really for the last 10 years, with having the big musical sounds like the brah, brah, brah. Was making that sound 3 times, was that too much? Should I edit it out? Nah, probably not going to. But that sound and the way that the Inception trailers were set up, that was kind of the first time that that was ever done. And then a lot of trailers afterwards were really copying that sound to make their trailers feel more dramatic and more surreal and give you that sense of je ne sais quoi, I want to say, because I don't know how to describe it any other way. It just gives you that feeling that something big and important is happening in this movie and you need to be there to see it. That's kind of what that trailer does for me. So Inception is definitely one of the best trailers I've ever seen, but at the same time, I had no idea what Inception was about. Going into the theater 10 years ago, I had seen the trailer and like that music and everything, but I did not know what to expect. I was like, hey, it's about like dreams and they're pulling a heist or whatever, but I was not prepared for how much I was going to be completely blown away by that film. The trailer is amazing and the film itself is great as well. Another really great trailer is Blade Runner 2049. Mostly this trailer is just letting you know that it's a Blade Runner sequel and then showing off the absolutely gorgeous cinematography. This movie was shot by Roger Deakins. He won the Academy Award for his cinematography for this movie. I've talked about it ad nauseum. I love Blade Runner 2049. And the trailers made me so excited for it. It showed off Harrison Ford, even though he doesn't come into the movie until like almost 2 hours in. Like, it's a long time before we see Harrison Ford in the film. But they show him off, they show Ryan Gosling off, the flying cars. They really make you feel that you're in that Blade Runner universe again after 30 years. You're back in that world. And it's grown and it's developed and there's different things around, but it still feels the same, you know? So that trailer for Blade Runner 2049, that is a really big one. This next trailer of mine that I really enjoy, the trailer for Logan. Now, the one specifically that I'm thinking about is the one that plays the song Hurt by Johnny Cash. And it's such an emotional trailer and showing that, like, Wolverine is going to go through some stuff in this movie and it's going to be hard for him and he's nearing the end of his life. And what even does he have to live for at this point? All of the pain and hurt that he's experienced. And it really just emphasizes the fact that this movie, it's gonna be a downer. there is one shot in that trailer that shows them smiling and like being around a table, but the rest of the movie is just dour and sad, and you know that your man Wolverine is going to go through the ringer in this movie, and it's going to be a huge challenge for him. It really is a magnificent trailer. I love it a lot. It's, oh my goodness, just thinking about it right now makes me want to go watch Logan, because I was in from that trailer. It's one of the best trailers I've ever seen. And when I was thinking about great trailers, like this one came to mind immediately. Like, it was a fantastic trailer. Another really good teaser is the one for The Force Awakens. Now, this is the one that opens on the shot of Tatooine, and you hear Supreme Leader Snoke say, "There has been an awakening, have you felt it?" And then you see Finn pop up into the screen, and we get shots of BB-8 and Kylo Ren, and we get the crossguard lightsaber for the first time. And you see this glorious shot of the Millennium Falcon flying in a 360 circle, and you follow it, and then it flips over, and it's on the sands of Jakku, and it's against TIE fighters. And it just, the way it used the music and the visuals of Star Wars, it just made you feel like you were back in a galaxy far, far away, and you were ready after over 10 years of not having a new Star Wars movie. You were ready to get back into that theater in December 2015. I do believe it was December 17th, if I remember correctly. And I don't know how many times I watched that teaser when it first came out. I think it came out in 2014. And oh my goodness, it was over a year before the movie came out, and everyone was just in. And then, of course, we had the Chewie We're Home trailer, which was released a few months later. But that first teaser of The Force Awakens, oh my goodness, I loved that thing so much. And even though I've really cooled down on the sequel trilogy a lot, especially after the release of Rise of Skywalker, I still really fondly look back onto when that teaser first came out, and I don't know how many times I watched it. Another really good trailer is for The Revenant, which I think also came out in 2015, I'm not sure. That's the one with Leonardo DiCaprio, and it was just intense. I did not know what to expect from this movie. I think The Revenant is fantastic. It was shot in my home province of Alberta, just outside of Calgary. All used natural lighting in the shoot, which is great. I know a few people who have worked on the set, which is really cool as well. Unfortunately, I didn't get to, but that was a really exciting trailer too, of just, this man is surviving in the wilderness by himself. He was attacked by a bear, he was left for dead, and now he's on a revenge trip. And it's, oh my goodness, that is a good trailer and a good movie. And I have one more of my favorite trailers to talk about, and then I'm going to talk about some bad trailers. This one is kind of a cheat, because it's not a studio-made trailer. It's something that I saw that was fan-made online, and I've watched it a bunch of times because it's just fantastic. So it's a trailer that somebody made for the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy, but it was done using the musical beats for the trailer for Infinity War. Now, it was a little bit weird hearing some of the Avengers music played over top of the Lord of the Rings, but the way that the shots that it chose from the Lord of the Rings matching up with the music, I really liked it a lot. I've shared it with a lot of people. Whoever made it, I can't remember the YouTube user who made that trailer, but I love that thing. I've watched it a bunch of times. It really gets me excited for rewatching movies like Infinity War, but it really showcases the best of what the Lord of the Rings has to offer. Lord of the Rings being my favorite movies, of course, I'm really biased in that respect, but I think this was so well edited, even though it wasn't made by someone professionally in the industry, just by a fan of both the Avengers and fan of Lord of the Rings, combined the best of both in this trailer, and I absolutely love it. So that's the last of the best trailers that I want to talk about. It was kind of a cheat, but that's fine. I don't care that much. Now I have 3 trailers, worst trailers that I've ever seen. One of them is it's not really bad. It's just I got really negative vibes from it, and that's for Crazy Rich Asians. When I first saw the trailer for that, I was like, that doesn't look good at all. I don't think I'm going to watch that. And then it got so much buzz and so much hype, and it was so well reviewed. I was like, okay, like, I'm not interested in going to see this, but I better go check it out anyway. And when I went to the theater and I watched it, I loved it. I thought it was so good. That trailer was awful. I still think it's a bad trailer, but I love the movie Crazy Rich Asians. I think it's really, really well crafted. It's one of the best romantic comedies that we've had in many, many years. But unfortunately, it made a bad trailer. That one, though, is not nearly as bad as these next two that I want to talk about. Have you ever seen the original trailer for Star Wars? It's horrible. Basically, it's the word Star Wars from really far away in space, like slowly coming up to the screen, and there's just dramatic voiceover. So, like, coming to a galaxy near you. And it shows off some shots, and it said, like, this whole thing could be happening right now above us. Even though the beginning of the movie says it happens a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It's such a bad trailer. It's really poorly put together. It does show off some of the better visual effects of the film, and I think it gives away a little bit of spoilers for the movie, but overall, it's just really poorly put together. And for a movie that won Best Editing at the Academy Awards, the trailer itself was just really poorly done. Whoever was in charge of marketing botched it, but they did not botch it as badly as this next trailer that I want to talk about. And this is one of the trailers for Batman Begins. Now, I do recommend going online and finding this trailer and watching it because it is so cringy and bad. Now, if you haven't seen Batman Begins, this is a Christopher Nolan directed movie. If you're not familiar with his movies, they take themselves very seriously and from a very grounded, realistic approach. There's nothing overly cheesy or anything about his movies. But if you were to watch this trailer, you would not think that Batman Begins was the movie that it is based off of this trailer alone. It's really focused on Bruce Wayne and Katie Holmes, her character of Rachel. It's really focused on them. We get a lot of Rachel in this trailer, and it's played over top of a Nickelback song, and it just makes it feel like a cheesy comedy, and the music, this Nickelback song, does not fit the images that we're seeing from the film, with Batman flying over the city or shooting a gun, a grappling hook, and flying out of crowds and driving the Tumbler Batmobile around. It so horribly clashes with the tone of the film that you wouldn't even think that this is advertising the same movie. It's horrible, horrible, horrible. So I would recommend going to check out that teaser trailer because it is just one of the worst trailers advertising movie that I've ever seen. Especially for a movie that's as good as Batman Begins is. I really like it. That, of course, is the one where he yells, like, "Where are the other drugs going?" And he really has that gravelly Batman voice, which he has throughout the whole trilogy. And that aspect of it I'm not as into. But overall, it's a good movie, and they really play into the themes of fear. And watching this trailer, you just wouldn't guess that this is what the movie's about, or this is the types of things that happen in the film. It's absolutely crazy. I just had those 3 bad trailers to talk about, though. So I think that pretty much wraps up everything I want to talk about today about the evolution of movie trailers, how they've changed, and how far we have come. We're no longer getting voiceovers of "in a world" unless it's being done ironically at this point. We are not getting the entire story of a movie being told to us in a 2-minute chunk. We're now just being teased and lured into the cinema, which is fine by me. I like to go in knowing as little as possible about a movie and being completely surprised and blown away. So my question for you guys today is, what is your favorite movie trailer out there? Do you have one? If I had to pick, probably that trailer for Inception or that one for Logan that I talked about is one of my favorites for sure. But please let me know by reaching out to me on social media. You can find me on Twitter at PottleNathan, and you can find the show on Instagram at Movies Are Awesome Podcast. If you haven't done so already and you want to, please feel free to subscribe to the show. You can do that on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and a whole bunch of other places. I've got all those links in the show notes below. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I like doing little historical things like this. I am fascinated by the history of film and everything that we have developed and how far we've come since those early days in the late 1800s, early 1900s. It's fascinating to me. So thank you for being on this journey with me. And of course, if you have nothing else to do, go watch more movies.